So that was a little taste of Rome versus Suebi using the Daughters of Mars. So it's the new DLC out for Rome 2. It also comes alongside a free update for the Suebi faction, giving it a few extra units for free. So whether you buy Daughters of Mars or not, you'll get these extra units for the Suebi. Obviously not the female units because they're part of the Daughters of Mars update, but I'll show you the units separately, the ones you'll get for free, and obviously the ones that you'd have to buy the DLC for. We're going to start off by looking at the DLC units. So that battles between Rome and the Suebi, incorporating some of the Daughters of Mars units for both. So for Rome, as we have over here, and we'll have a look at the unit info, we now have two female units for Rome, the Gladiatrices and the Spear Gladiatrices. Probably saying that wrong, but basically female counterparts to the male gladiator units already in the game. If we compare them quickly, let's put the male sword gladiator unit in here. We can see that he has more melee attack, but his female counterpart has a higher melee defense, higher armor, and higher base morale while slightly lower health. However, this means they're going to last longer in the fight, and in that little sort of machinima video, just sort of that cinematic where I threw together some clips, the Gladiatrices held their own pretty well against some pretty tough spear units that the Suebi now have with the Daughters of Mars. Plus, they also had to go up against the male Wodnaz spears because I had to include a general, and the AI obviously wouldn't play ball and leave it behind, so I had to go up against them. So, those are the two female units. The Spear Gladiatrices share the same sort of characteristics as the comparison between the male gladiators. Compared to the male Spear Gladiators, they have slightly more attack, the male counterpart, whereas the Spear Gladiatrices have more melee defense, more armor, and more base morale, so they're going to last longer in fights overall, maybe not doing as much damage. Jumping over to the Suebi, they have three female units. The Cimbri bowwomen, which we saw pelting the gladiatrices with arrows in that little clip. They also have hex bearers, sort of medium tier sword infantry, and spear women. Nice amounts of melee defense. They can hold their own pretty darn well. So the Cimbri bowwomen follow the sort of archer trait that the Suebi archers tend to have, which is that longer range of 150. So they're going to be useful for outranging your skirmisher opponents, and also be able to keep up with slingers. The hex bearers, reasonable melee attack, weapon damage, reasonable melee defense. Obviously not too heavily armored, but a nice step up because they're one of the few sword units that you can get early on for the Suebi. And then you have the Spearwomen. Now, jumping away from the Daughters of Mars update, for the Suebi, there are also some new units which you're going to get for free whether you buy Daughters of Mars or not, as I mentioned. And these include another sword unit, which I can't click up there, which include the Round Shield Swordsman. So, with the Round Shield Swordsman and the Hex Bearers, you've now got two sort of mid-tier sword units to upgrade from the Bloodsworn and Club Levy. So you should be able to do some more damage before you get onto the more expensive Wolf Warriors and Berserkers. Obviously the Hex Bearers only have 80 units, so won't be able to use them all the time, but they do have a demoralizing shout which they can use on the enemy, so that might be useful there. You also have Spear Wall as a new unit, which has an impressive 86 melee defense, so they're going to be able to hold the ground pretty darn well. You also have, where are they? Horse Runners, another skirmisher unit. Fleet of foot, these all-rounders are as swift as steeds, and they actually have reasonable melee defense, so they can kind of hold their own for a bit, and decent weapon damage, so when they run out of ammo, you can charge them on in. You also have Riders of the Hunt, which work well both as Lancer shock cavalry with a decent charge bonus of 39, but also as a melee cav unit, which is what class they actually come under. But they've got enough charge to make them pretty good as shock troops. Plus they get frenzy charge, I believe, or ferocious charge, one of those. But their melee attack is 42, weapon damage 32, so pretty decent there. And I believe, while not new, the Germanic Scout Riders have had a bit of tweaking to their stats to rebalance them a little bit. So there are their stats alongside that update. Obviously, I guess in future patches and what have you, they could always be changed further. But with this update, those are the ones that add in. So you've got 4 new units alongside the rebalancing of the Germanic Scout Riders, plus those 3 female units that come with the Daughters of Mars DLC. So obviously you have to buy that to get those 3 female units, but you're all going to get 4 new units for the Suebi anyway, which should help pad out their unit roster, which is going to be pretty cool. So the other factions that also have had some female units added in, we've got the Lusitani. Now they've only got 1 unit added in here, and that's the Lusitani Swordswomen. But they come in, you know, as a nice alternative to the Iberian swords. And we can see the comparison of stats here. The Swordswomen have more melee attack, they have a little bit more melee defense, and a little bit more base morale at the cost of some health. So pretty decent units. Obviously they have less charge bonus as well. But pretty powerful units, pretty useful, and very cheap for the Lusitani. Also got the Royal Scythians. They get 2 female units. The Scythian Amazonian Riders and the Scythian Noblewomen. Now the thing that makes them unique, the rest of their stats are pretty much normal, fit in nicely with the rest of the missile cavalry for the Scythians. However, they have 150 range, and they're the only units for the Royal Scythians that have that range. So the 2 female units get that extended range for their archers. Not even the Royal Horse Archers that the General's unit can have has that extended range. So you might want these guys if you're coming up against a lot of slingers, or if you really want to outrange your opponent. They both come in nicely there, and as you can see, they've got a full roster of abilities that they can call upon, traits to use. So that's the Royal Scythians. Amazonian Riders at the slightly cheaper end, 400, and the Scythian Noblewomen at 600. Both pretty affordable for your horse riding horde. And then finally, the final faction to get a unit is Egypt in this Daughters of Mars DLC pack. And they get them in the form, or they appear in the custom battle. I don't know if you can perhaps get them as standard units in the campaign game, but in the custom battle they appear as mercenary Kushite shield women. And they form up as another extra spear infantry unit. Nice upgrade from the Levy Therosi spears. And they're pretty much looking across the board, bar the charge bonus. They're beating them in every respect, but they're not as strong as the full-on Therosi spears here. We can see these Gals rather have a higher melee defense, just. But apart from that, everything is either the same or higher. But as some extra shield warriors in there, shield women, they sound pretty good, and extra spears. They have cavalry counter tactics in there too, which the Therosi spears don't have. So if you're facing a lot of cav armies, these guys, or gals I should say, will help you out in a tough spot. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Daughters of Mars, plus the free roster update for the Suebi that should be out now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do remember to comment, rate, subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter for all the latest updates to my channel. Take pride in joining the Legion, and I'll see you all again next time. Ciao for now.